All right, here's going to be my attempt at finally some sort of review on these boards, the Naya Create. I've had these for a little while now, and they're actually pretty delightful, nicely built. I don't really have any complaints with the build style itself. As you know, they're in beta right now, with their firmware still being heavily developed, so there's a lot of features that deal with software that are not available yet. So this is entirely around the hardware, which is why there's no computer here nearby. It's just going to be on the hardware itself. To just give you all a good look of the build, and here's their tune. And their touch. These are the only modules that are available at the moment. Track is coming, and float is a bit delayed as they're working out the rest of the processing on that. So as far as usability, well, actually, let's go to this. A lot of questions come up about the switches that are used. So I've pulled one out here. As I don't have the official switch puller yet, that's still in development. Did that just to make sure that I can do this fairly quickly. This is the switch that they use. Currently, this is the only one that they have, and be very careful. In the Discord, there's been a lot of talk about this switch even being manufactured different from the manufacturer as opposed to how Naya has it. So make sure to get it only from them for now. This is the mini switch. For comparison, here's the mini-choc V1. This is a black linear. You can see that it actually is quite a bit different in size, and the layout is entirely different on the bottom. I don't know if I can get a good shot there. And here is a full MX. So there is no plugging in different things, and you'd have to entirely redesign this whole board if you wanted a different switch. I understand why they did this, because this is low profile is the name of the game here. So otherwise, it seems pretty similar and reacts very much the same. Just make sure to align the pins and everything correctly, place it in, and there you have it. As far as the modules themselves, it's a pretty satisfying click once it goes into place, and it's connected pretty well. Sometimes you might have to wiggle a little bit, make sure that the pins here connect. And they do suggest that when you take it out, you just kind of give it a little pressure on the bottom. But I tend to like the touch on the right and the tune, on the left. As far as typing, I'll give you, zoom out just a little bit here. Here's a mouse. And as far as tenting goes, it goes up to 27 degrees. And the recommended method to do that is to bend this one to the desired angle that you want. And then from there, you take this edge and you press it down. And that'll give you a nice stable, it is actually a very stable feeling. I can put a decent amount of pressure on this and it doesn't budge. With the exception of if you start hitting the top corners, it will kind of start moving just a little bit. And now this is if you're putting a fair amount of pressure, not overly large, so you will get this in standard daily typing, but fortunately I don't hit those numbers too often, and I plan on moving that button away for other uses to be a more rare button. Currently the only thing available is the QWERTY alphanumeric, with other versions coming. But I find it pretty enjoyable to use. To use it, you hit this little switch on the side is the power. There have been some reviews stating that the power switch is a little hard to enable. I don't find too much difficulty in enabling it, but that's just my preference. So my typical usage will be like this. So now when I use it, this is kind of my standard layout, as I'll be using these two thumb keys, and I'll be using it like this with my space over here. I find that the touch over here, if I'm using it standard, I can go like this, and I can reach this corner over here. The rest might be a little far out of reach without moving, so I tend to have to move just a little bit like this, or maybe even a little bit like that. The tune is actually pretty convenient to use in tented. The touch, maybe. I'm hopeful on the track because it's a little bit of a reach, and still feels like it might be regardless with the track comes. Of course, in the flat, you can see that it's actually it's a bit easier to use, the touch. So depending on your use case for which ones you'd want to use, this of course is also a touchpad that has full use, will have full use. Current firmware is limiting its capabilities, but that is on track to be a more dependable or more wide use kind of module, but its smaller use makes it kind of hard to use multi-finger gesture, but it is a capability. Beyond that, that's kind of all I have to give here. So I will give it one more once over on the other side this time, now lit up. Hope you enjoyed that.